Fire broke out at a bearing factory in Russia's Kursk region, local media reported. The fire is said to have started in a workshop producing rubber products and quickly spread throughout the entire factory. The fire covered an area of 10,000 square meters. Local residents reported hearing an explosion before the incident. There have been no reports of casualties. The factory, one of the largest enterprises in the country's machine building sector, belongs to the military-industrial complex.
The Kremlin has reacted negatively to statements by Germany's incoming Chancellor Friedrich Merz regarding the potential supply of long-range Taurus missiles to Ukraine. In an interview, Merz said he would be willing to transfer Taurus missiles to Ukraine, provided there was coordination with European partners. The armed forces of Ukraine have only been reacting for 3 years. It is time for them to start influencing the course of events, Merz stated. As an example of the potential use of Taurus missiles, he mentioned the destruction of land routes between Russia and temporarily occupied Crimea, which are important for the Russian army's logistics. Taurus missiles, if delivered to Ukraine, could be used to target strategic Russian military infrastructure in occupied Crimea, including the Kursk bridge. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov claimed that such a move would lead to inevitable escalation. Judging by Mr. Merz's remarks, he is in favor of strengthening Ukraine's position and supports actions that will likely and inevitably lead only to further escalation of the situation around Ukraine, Peskov said. He added that Russia sees similar positions in other European capitals. Unfortunately, European capitals are not inclined to look for ways to move towards peace negotiations, but rather continue provoking the prolongation of the war, the Kremlin spokesman stated. While in opposition, Merz openly supported supplying Ukraine with Taurus missiles, a step his predecessor, Olaf Scholz, consistently ruled out, citing claims that such a move could draw Germany directly into the war. Several senior European diplomats welcomed Merz's statement about the potential delivery of Taurus missiles to Ukraine. Ukraine has already received US-supplied ATACMS as well as Scalp/Storm Shadow cruise missiles from France and the UK. Both Washington and London have permitted Kiev to use these systems to strike targets within Russian-occupied territory, including Crimea. The previous Biden administration and the UK also allowed strikes with long-range missiles against military targets on Russian soil in late 2024, namely in the Russian border regions of Kursk and Bryansk. Incumbent US President Donald Trump has criticized the move. The Western diplomatic isolation imposed on Putin after the outbreak of the full-scale war seems to be unraveling as Trump has resumed direct diplomatic contact with Moscow in an effort to broker a ceasefire. These efforts have largely stalled as the Kremlin rejected a proposal by Washington and Kiev for a full 30-day truce and continued in deadly attacks against Ukrainian cities and infrastructure despite a partial ceasefire agreed upon on March the 25th.
Ukrainian troops continue to strike Russian military targets in Russian territories and in Ukraine using Western-provided weapons and munitions. A video circulated on X social media platform shows a Ukrainian MiG-29 fighter aircraft destroy a building in which Russian infantry and ammunition were stationed. The strike was launched with the use of American GBU-62 precision-guided bombs. The location where the Russian military facility was struck is unknown. The attack comes amid souring of relations between Donald Trump's administration and the Kremlin after weeks-long attempts to negotiate ceasefire in Ukraine. Last month, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened Kremlin for delaying the peace negotiations with Ukraine. Trump warned his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin of devastating sanctions if Moscow refused a deal on a ceasefire in Ukraine. "We could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia. But I don't want to do that because I want to see peace, and we're getting close to maybe getting something done," Trump told reporters. He made the remarks before his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, was going to Moscow after Kiev agreed to a 30-day truce.